And now for our next news special report.
Tonight, a storm is brewing over America's southern border, and it's not just about immigration. It's a clash of titans, state versus federal power. In one corner, Texas Governor Greg Abbott standing his ground, refusing to let Washington dictate his state's defense. In the other, President Biden under pressure to take drastic action. The call from Representative Joaquin Castro and Senator Joe Manchin echoes through the halls of power. Seize control of the Texas National Guard. But what does this mean for our republic? This isn't just a border issue, it's a fundamental question about the very fabric of our nation. As tensions mount and the nation watches, one question remains. Will Biden cross the line? Don't miss a single moment of this report, and especially my final thought. It's a perspective on why this monumental decision could change the course of our nation's history. And before we dive into this brewing storm over state rights and federal overreach, let's take a moment. Just as Texas faces pressure from an overbearing federal government, our bodies often struggle under the weight of unhealthy fat, especially around the midsection. Yes, it's like having an unwelcome guest that puts pressure on our vital functions, and that's why I've turned to this remarkable solution that targets the issue head on. It's designed to help reduce fat storage, support weight management, and boost metabolism, much like how Governor Abbott is striving to maintain Texas autonomy against federal intrusion. And for a limited time, you can get 51% off this game-changing product. Visit trimwithgary.com. The link's in the description. That's trimwithgary.com. Now back to the issue at hand. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the nation, President Biden is facing pressure to take a drastic and unprecedented action, seize control of the Texas National Guard. This controversial suggestion, spearheaded by Representative Joaquin Castro and backed by Senator Joe Manchin, strikes at the heart of a heated debate over states' rights and federal overreach. At the epicenter of the turmoil is a chaotic situation at the southern border, a crisis exacerbated by what many see as the Biden administration's failure to ineffectively manage immigration and border security. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas stands as a bulwark against these policies, has vehemently opposed the federal government's approach, asserting his state's autonomy in protecting its borders. The recent development, as Representative Joaquin Castro is urging President Biden to federalize the National Guard, stripping Governor Abbott of his command. This move would not only escalate the conflict between state and federal powers, but also symbolize a significant shift in how the government addresses national security concerns. In this video, Joaquin Castro demonizes Republicans for wanting to secure the border. His rhetoric, laden with criticism of those striving to uphold law and order, reveals a deep-seated opposition to the policies that were once effectively implemented under President Trump. Watch.
It did shock the conscience when you talk about Texas National Guard or DPS basically preventing CBP from rescuing a mom and two kids, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old kid who drowned. I'll say this, Republicans have gotten very bloodthirsty when it comes to the issue of immigration and border security. And you imagine what it takes for people in uniform to prevent other people from rescuing drowning individuals.
Wow, amazing how they invoke that. Now, the image of Castro calling for the federalization of the National Guard, thereby stripping power from Governor Abbott, is alarming. It suggests an aggressive push by certain Democrats to override state authority, which many conservatives view as a dangerous overreach that could set a concerning precedent for federal intervention into state matters. In this backdrop of political posturing, Senator Joe Manchin calls for a national emergency over the immigration crisis, adding another layer of complexity. While such a declaration could grant President Biden broad powers, it's a path fraught with legal and ethical questions. Many view this as a desperate attempt by the Biden administration to assert control over a situation that has spiraled due to their ineffective policies, a stark contrast to the more stringent and successful approaches seen during the Trump era. The potential federalization of the Texas National Guard raises critical questions about the role of loyalty and the role and loyalty of these forces. If Biden proceeds with the plan, it could lead to a division within the ranks of the Guard, as members might be torn between federal directives and state loyalty. This scenario could create an unprecedented conflict within our military forces, pitting Americans against Americans on their own soil. Moreover, the implications of such a move extend beyond the immediate issue of border security. It represents a power struggle between the federal government's desire to impose its will and the state's rights to self-governance. This struggle is exemplified by Texas' defiant stance, is emblematic of the larger tension within the country, where many feel that the federal government is increasingly encroaching on areas traditionally reserved for state control. Critics argue that the Biden administration's approach to the border crisis is not only ineffective, but also ignores the fundamental principles of federalism that have guided the United States since its inception. They assert that the administration's willingness to consider such a drastic measure as federalizing a state's National Guard is indicative of a broader disregard for states' rights and the balance of power established by the Constitution. And the situation is made even more volatile by the fact that the Biden administration until now has largely downplayed the severity of the border crisis. This raises questions about their sudden change of stance and the political motivations behind it. Many conservatives see this as a tactic to divert attention from the administration's shortcomings in handling the border crisis, a crisis that has worsened significantly since the departure of President Trump and his policies that aim to secure the border more effectively. As we delve deeper into this unfolding drama, it becomes clear that this is more than just a dispute over border policy. It's a fundamental battle over the direction of our republic, the rights of states versus the powers of the federal government, and the future of American governance. The outcome of this conflict could have lasting implications for the United States, reshaping the relationship between Washington and the states, altering the course of political history. At the heart of this debate is a simple yet profound question. Who should have the final say in protecting our borders, the states or the federal government? As the question looms large, the nation watches with bated breath, wondering if President Biden will heed the calls of Castro and Manchin, or if he will respect the autonomy of states like Texas, which are desperately trying to manage a crisis many believe his administration has failed to address effectively. As we ponder these questions, one thing is clear. The decisions made in the coming days will not only shape the future of border security, but also define the very nature of our federalist system. This is not just about Texas or the National Guard. It's about the soul of our republic and the principles upon which it was founded. And as the situation continues to evolve, we must ask ourselves, all of us, what kind of nation do we want to be? If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's more important now than ever to stay informed and engaged as we navigate these times. Now, let's go to my final thought. In closing, let's cut through the noise and see this for what it is. It's a stark power grab by the Biden administration, egged on by the likes of Representative Joaquin Castro. Their calls to federalize the Texas National Guard are not just about border security. They're a direct assault on states' rights and a clear overstep of federal power. It's a dangerous precedent, one that threatens the very fabric of our republic. And Governor Greg Abbott stands as a beacon of resistance in this scenario, defending not only Texas borders, but also the fundamental principles of state sovereignty. His stance is more than just about immigration policy. It's a fight to preserve the balance of power that our founding fathers so wisely established. In the face of these unprecedented challenges, we must stand with Governor Abbott and oppose any move that undermines the autonomy and rights of our states. This isn't just about Texas, it's about the future of our republic.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.